Lila Hartman handed her daughter to the devil for $25,000. But when Detective Sarah Ruiz pried open Gareth Voss's doll cabinet, she realized the horror had only just begun. Inside, little Emily Hartman blinked up at her with glass eyes, her tiny fingers stitched together like a porcelain doll's. And the timestamp on the live stream proved she was still breathing when the FBI kicked down the door. The small, run-down house at the end of Maple Street in Willow Creek looked ordinary from the outside: peeling paint, a sagging porch, and a rusted swing set in the overgrown yard. Inside, 5-year-old Emily Hartman sat at a wobbly kitchen table, coloring a picture of a butterfly while her mother, Lila, paced the room, her fingers twitching with nervous energy. To anyone passing by, they seemed like any other struggling family, just a young single mom doing her best to raise a bright, happy child. But the truth was far uglier. Lila Hartman had once been a promising nursing student, but a car accident 2 years earlier had left her addicted to painkillers. When the prescriptions ran out, she turned to the streets, buying whatever pills she could find. The habit drained her savings, then her dignity. Now, she owed thousands to a dealer named Rico, a man with a reputation for settling debts in blood. That morning, Rico had sent her a final warning. "You got 48 hours. Pay up or I take it out of your kid." The message made Lila's stomach twist. She knew he wasn't bluffing. Desperate, she scrolled through her phone, searching for a way out. Then, buried in the dark corners of the internet, she found it. A forum where people bought and sold things no one should ever trade. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard before she typed the unthinkable. Young, healthy girl for sale. Quiet and obedient. No questions. She hesitated before hitting post, her eyes flickering to Emily, who was now humming to herself as she glued glitter onto her drawing. For a split second, guilt clawed at Lila's throat. But then she remembered Rico's voice, the way he had grabbed her arm the last time they met, his breath hot against her ear as he whispered threats. She pressed send. The response came faster than she expected. A user named Mr. Black messaged her within minutes. "I'm interested. Send photos and a price." Lila's hands shook as she snapped a picture of Emily, her golden curls, her wide blue eyes, the smudge of pink marker on her cheek. She attached it without looking at it too long, then named a figure that made her own skin crawl. Mr. Black didn't haggle. "Meet me tomorrow, midnight, the old gas station on Route 9. Come alone." Lila deleted the messages, her pulse pounding. That night, as she tucked Emily into bed, the little girl looked up at her with sleepy trust. "Mommy, can we get ice cream tomorrow?" Lila forced a smile. "Sure, baby. Whatever you want." She waited until Emily's breathing steadied before slipping into the bathroom, where she dry-heaved over the sink. The reflection staring back at her was hollow-eyed, a stranger. She splashed water on her face, then pulled out her phone again. Time to search Mr. Black. The results made her blood freeze. Buried in an old news article was a grainy photo of a man wanted for questioning in the disappearance of a little girl in the next state over. The face was blurred, but the description matched: tall, well-dressed, with a voice like polished silk. Lila's finger hovered over the delete post button, but then Rico's text buzzed through again. "Tick-tock, Lila." She turned off her phone and sat in the dark, listening to the sound of her daughter's soft breaths from the next room. Tomorrow, Emily would be gone, and Lila would be rich. The abandoned Texaco station on Route 9 had been rotting for years, its broken sign creaking in the wind like a warning. Lila pulled her dented Honda into the cracked parking lot 20 minutes early, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. Emily slept, curled in the back seat, clutching the stuffed rabbit she'd had since birth, its fur matted from years of love. The dashboard clock glowed 11:42 p.m., 18 minutes until the devil came calling. Lila's stomach churned as she checked the glove compartment for the 5th time. The switchblade she'd stolen from Rico's place last week still sat there, cold against her trembling fingers. She wasn't sure why she'd brought it. Protection? A way out, if this went bad? The knife felt heavy in her palm, a tangible reminder that she could still turn back. Headlights cut through the darkness. A black Mercedes G-Class, sleek and expensive, rolled to a stop beside her. The driver's window lowered just enough for a wisp of cigar smoke to escape. The man inside didn't speak. Lila's throat went dry. This wasn't some creep in a panel van. This was money. Real money. The kind that made problems disappear. She woke Emily with a gentle shake. Time to meet that nice man, baby. Emily rubbed her eyes, her pink pajamas wrinkled from sleep. Where's the toys? Soon, Lila lied, helping her into the jacket with the daisy patches. The one she'd bought at Goodwill last winter, the one Emily loved. The Mercedes door opened. Mr. Black stepped out in a tailored charcoal suit, his leather shoes crunching on broken glass. Late 40s, salt and pepper hair, the kind of face you'd trust to manage your investments. He smiled, warm, practiced, and crouched to Emily's eye level. What? A beautiful little princess, he cooed, producing a lollipop from his pocket. Emily hesitated, looking to Lila, who nodded too quickly. The envelope came next, thick, heavy. Lila didn't count it. The weight alone made her lightheaded. Pleasure doing business, Mr. Black said, his voice like expensive whiskey. He took Emily's hand. Shall we go see those toys now, sweetheart? Emily turned back once. Bye, Mommy. The knife burned in Lila's pocket as she watched the Mercedes disappear down the highway. She waited until the taillights vanished before tearing open the envelope. Hundreds, all hundreds, more cash than she'd ever held. Her hands shook as she counted. $25,000 exactly. Enough to pay Rico, enough to start over. Then her fingers brushed something else at the bottom of the envelope, a silver locket. When she pried it open, 2 faces stared back, Emily and a dark-haired girl she didn't recognize, both smiling, both in identical pink pajamas 2 years ago. Lila's blood turned to ice. This wasn't his first purchase, and Emily wouldn't be his last. Detective Sarah Ruiz's coffee had gone cold 3 hours ago, but she barely noticed. The case files spread across her desk made her stomach churn. 5 missing girls in 6 months, all between 4 and 6 years old, all blonde with blue eyes. The latest photo showed Emily Hartman, her gap-toothed smile frozen in time on a school portrait. The resemblance to the other victims was uncanny. Willow Creek PD had treated Emily's disappearance as a standard custody case at first. Lila's story about a park abduction hadn't raised immediate red flags until the security footage from a nearby 7-Eleven surfaced. The timestamp showed Lila buying cigarettes at the exact time she claimed to be searching desperately for Emily, Sarah's partner. Detective Mark Harris tossed her evidence bag onto her desk. You're gonna want to see this. Inside was Emily's stuffed rabbit, its fur matted with something dark. Found it dumped behind the abandoned Texaco, Mark said. That's not dirt. The lab confirmed it within hours. Blood. Emily's. Meanwhile, FBI, Agent Daniel Carter, from the Child Abduction Rapid Deployment Team, pulled security cam footage from every business along Route 9. The black Mercedes appeared at 12:07 a.m. No plates, windows tinted black. But the traffic cam at the highway on-ramp caught something more disturbing, the driver's hand reaching back to adjust the rearview mirror. On his wrist, a distinctive watch with a blue face. Sarah nearly dropped the file when she saw it. Voss, she breathed. Gareth Voss, 48, owner of Voss Toys Inc. His company's My First Friend doll line dominated the preschool market. He'd been questioned last year when a factory worker reported seeing him carry a sleeping child into his private office. The investigation went nowhere. Voss had airtight alibis, expensive lawyers, and that watch, a limited edition Patek Philippe, had been featured in his Forbes profile last month. Sarah's computer dinged with an email from cybercrimes. They'd traced the Mr. Black account to a VPN server, registered to Voss Toys' corporate office. Across town, Lila Hartman sat on a motel bed counting blood money when the news alert flashed on TV. Breaking police name, person of interest in local child disappearance case. The screen showed Gareth Voss leaving his gated mansion, shielding his face from cameras. Lila's phone vibrated with an unknown number. "You took something that belongs to me." The attached photo made her scream. Emily in a frilly white dress, her eyes glassy and unfocused, posed like a doll on a velvet chair. But it was the timestamp that stopped Lila's heart. Taken 15 minutes ago. Voss still had Emily, and he wasn't done playing. The pre-dawn raid on Gareth Voss's estate moved with military precision. SWAT teams breached the wrought iron gates, while FBI agents cut power to the sprawling property. Detective Sarah Ruiz gripped her service weapon as they approached the Tudor-style mansion, her breath visible in the freezing air. Every instinct screamed that Emily Hartman was inside, but whether alive or dead, she couldn't guess. The front door yielded too easily. No alarms, no resistance. The house smelled of lemon polish and something cloyingly sweet. Vanilla mixed with a chemical undertone that made Sarah's eyes water. Flashlights swept across a living room straight from a magazine spread. Pristine white furniture, antique dolls in glass cabinets, a grand piano with a metronome ticking relentlessly. Then Agent Carter found the basement door. The steel reinforced. Lock took 3 attempts to breach. When it finally gave way, the stench hit them first. Formaldehyde and copper, the unmistakable cocktail of preserved blood. Sarah's flashlight beam trembled as it illuminated the horror below. Rows of glass display cases lining the walls, each containing a little girl in a frilly dress. Their skin waxen, hair meticulously styled, eyes replaced with glass replicas. That caught the light like marbles. Emily Hartman occupied the center case. Sarah's radio crackled with frantic updates. No sign of Voss. The master bedroom showed evidence of a hurried escape. A half-packed suitcase, drawers yanked open. But it was the laptop left charging on the desk that revealed the true nightmare. The screen showed an active video call to a dark web portal titled The Collection Room. Usernames flashed in the chat. Gold member. Ship me the blonde by Friday. Silk hands. I want her clothes included this time, Sarah vomited into a wastebasket. These weren't just trophies. They were inventory. Forensics later determined each victim had been kept alive for weeks before their deaths. Needle marks traced their arms. Sedatives, mixed with paralytic agents to keep them compliant. The coroner's report noted something even more grotesque. Every girl had received professional haircuts and manicures post-mortem. But the real horror came when tech analysts cracked Voss's encrypted files. Spreadsheets detailed payments from clients. Worldwide, each transaction coded with descriptors like porcelain or bisque, industry terms for doll finishes. A client list included politicians, CEOs, even a pediatric surgeon. And then there was the video. Time-stamped 90 minutes before the raid, it showed Voss adjusting Emily's limp body in her case, humming as he fastened a pearl necklace around her throat. Behind him, a digital clock displayed the current date and time, proof this wasn't archive footage. As Sarah watched, Voss turned to the camera and smiled. "Don't worry, friends," he crooned to his unseen audience. "Inventory number 6 is almost ready for her new home." The screen cut to black, just as SWAT breached the house upstairs. Somewhere out there, Voss was still packaging his merchandise, and Emily Hartman had been assigned a number. The manhunt for Gareth Voss lasted 17 excruciating days. His face dominated every news channel, his company's stock plummeted, and horrified parents returned Voss toys by the truckload. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Lila Hartman, now in custody, staring blankly at the interrogation room wall as Detective Ruiz slid a photo across the table. It showed a receipt found in Voss's office wastebasket, a $12,000 payment to a private marina dated the night of the raid. Lila's cracked lips parted. He took her on. The water. Coast Guard helicopters were scanning the Chesapeake within the hour. They found the Doll's Delight, Voss's 45-foot yacht, anchored near a shipping lane, its cabin lights glowing like a beacon. What they discovered inside would haunt the nation for decades. Voss lay sprawled across a king-sized bed, dressed in a silk robe, a bullet hole through his temple. The gun still dangled from his limp fingers. But this was no suicide. The angle was all wrong, the gunpowder residue missing from his hands. Someone had staged this, and Emily was gone. The yacht security system had been wiped clean, save for one corrupted file recovered by forensic techs. The grainy footage showed Emily, alive, being led onto a smaller speedboat by 2 figures in black. One carried a medical bag, the other wore a familiar Patek Philippe watch. Voss had partners. Interpol connected the dots too late. 3 days before the raid, a cargo ship called the Morning Star had left Baltimore Harbor under suspicious circumstances. Its manifest listed porcelain imports bound for Singapore, but customs never physically inspected the crates. By the time authorities tracked the ship to its first port stop in Morocco, the containers marked Voss collectibles were already emptied. Back in Willow Creek, Sarah Ruiz stood over the evidence table, staring at the last photo ever taken of Emily Hartman. The timestamp placed it just minutes before the yacht was boarded. In it, Emily wore a lace-collared dress she'd never owned, her hair curled into perfect ringlets. She held a handwritten sign, property of lot, 217 the auction, was long over by the time law enforcement cracked the dark web portal. The bidding history showed frantic last-minute offers from anonymous users, the price skyrocketing to $4.3 million before the listing abruptly vanished. The payment trail disappeared into cryptocurrency oblivion. At Lila's sentencing, the judge called her the most despicable creature to ever stand in this courtroom. She showed no reaction as they led her away, not even when a victim's advocate hurled a stuffed rabbit at her head. But late that night, in her maximum security cell, Lila finally broke. Guards found her clawing at the concrete floor, screaming Emily's name over and over, her fingernails torn and bleeding. In the darkness, far from prying eyes, someone watched the surveillance footage of Lila's meltdown with great interest. A well-dressed man leaned back in his leather chair, swirling a glass of bourbon as the screen's glow reflected off his blue-faced watch. On his desk sat a new case file. Inside, photos of 6 more little girls, all blonde, all blue-eyed, all perfect for the collection.